Good morning, everyone. My name is Ibukun Oyedeji. I'm the president of CFA Society Nigeria. And on behalf of the Board of Governors of CFA Society Nigeria, I'm honored to welcome you all to this very special occasion, which is our 10th edition of our quarterly leadership series. This series was birthed out of a passion to connect our highly successful CEOs with the future generation of finance leaders. It has grown with the dedication of the board and society of its team, and we are thrilled of how well this has resonated in our community. Today, we're not only celebrating a milestone of the 10th series, but it's also its impact and the impact is made in inspiring and developing the next generation of finance leaders across the country. Since its inception, the Quarterly Leadership Series, we have witnessed a tremendous growth with over 13,000 registrants, 4,000 active participants, more than 32,000 views on our YouTube channel. And this series has definitely struck a chord, not only with the finance industry professionals, but with every youth that is inspiring to be successful in this journey of life. Through this series, we have featured an array of inspiring speakers who have shared invaluable insights of their leadership, personal life stories, resilience, and their professional growth. The stories from these seasoned leaders, including former CEOs and trailblazers, has been the cornerstone of our commitment to nurturing future excellence within our industry. Today, we're really honored to host a remarkable leader whose career exemplifies the spirit of growth and resilience. He is Dr. Segun Ogunsanya. Dr. Ogunsanya is the inaugural chairman of Airtel Africa Foundation, a position he took up in July 2024 after serving as the group CEO of Airtel Africa PLC. Airtel Africa PLC is a FTSE 100 company, and I'm personally excited and delighted that we're featuring for the first time on our series a FTSE 100 company CEO. Thank you, sir, for accepting to be on our platform. So he joined Airtel in 2012 and ran the Nigerian operations of telecommunications and mobile money company for 9 years before his appointment as the CEO of the group in 2021. His local knowledge of African landscape and distribution experience has led the company in maintaining double-digit revenue growth over the period he was a CEO. And he has over 35 years work experience across business management, across various multiple geographies, organization, diverse sectors, including consulting, banking, fast-moving goods, and telecommunications. He was a CEO of various Coca-Cola bottling operations across Africa. After winning many business awards in previous years, in 2024, Dr. Ogunsanya was conferred with the Lifetime Achievement Award for his leadership, resilience, significant contributions that have left an indelible mark in the business community of Africa. Dr. Ogunsanya serves as a director of the board of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, the foremost private sector advocacy group in Nigeria. He is a fellow in various professional organizations. I'd like us to give him a virtual warm welcome by dropping a clap emoji in the chat group. Welcome once again, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes. I'd also like to introduce two of our moderators, esteemed moderators for today, and they are Ola Oladele, CFA, and David Enilolobo, CFA. They're both members of CFA Society Nigeria. Ola is the founder of the Money Wheat Club, an exclusive investment community, and has facilitated several personal workshops and trained staff of top organizations in different countries. She is a prolific speaker on finance, investment, and economic-related matters, and has featured on BBC Africa, her network, Guardian newspaper, amongst other excuse me, amongst other local and foreign traditional and electronic media. And this is after having a successful career in the finance industry in various capacity as a trader and an investor. David is the head of Group Assets and Liability Management for Access Bank, where he manages the ALM for the Access Bank Group. He holds a bachelor's degree from University of Ibadan and has an MBA in finance from University of Lagos. He also has a master's degree in global finance from City University, London. Beyond his professional pursuit, David is dedicated to teaching individuals and entrepreneurs about financial planning, budgeting, and money management. I believe these two speakers have enough depth and knowledge to actually help us manage this process of today and moderate this session. And so I want to thank Ola and David for accepting to moderate this on behalf of the society. To kick off things, I'd like us to have a brief video highlighting the work and the mission of the CFA Society. So I'd hand over to them to play a 1-minute video before we continue the session.
We are professionals. We are impact-driven. We are CFA Society Nigeria, a member society of the CFA Institute Global Network of Societies. Our mission is to promote the highest standard of practice in the Nigerian financial services industry and provide a vibrant community for our members. The CFA Charter signals the holders' commitment to professional excellence. As thought leaders, we collaborate with stakeholders to ensure adherence to ethical standards, better education for professionals, and to build market integrity. We are the leading voice for advocacy in the finance and investment industry in Nigeria. To partner with us or become our member, visit us at cfasocietynG.org for more details. CFA Society Nigeria, making finance a force for good.
So as we begin this session, I'd like to take this moment to thank everyone that has dialed into this call for today. Your active participation and engagement is really what makes this thing really meaningful and encourages us to go out and get additional speakers to engage us on their life experience and sharing their thoughts. So today I want us to take advantage of the opportunity of having Dr. on the call with us today. Ask the questions, let him share his life experiences, and we'll learn a lot from him as we all continue to thrive to build a successful careers for ourselves. Thank you everyone for joining, and I hope you thoroughly enjoyed this session. Over to you, Ola and David.
All right. Good morning, everyone. And good morning, Dr. Ogunsanya. Good to have you on the 10th edition of the QLS for the CFA Society Nigeria. We are humbled and pleased to have you in this edition. So I think a good place to start is talking about your career. You've had a very beautiful and an enviable career. So I think a lot of young people would like to know, how did it start for you? At the beginning of your career, did you envision leading major global brands like Coca-Cola and Airtel? How did you do it? I think it would be good to start with this.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me again. There's a very famous saying that you understand life looking backwards. When I finished university in 1987, and I just wanted to be successful. What success was then wasn't very clear, but I knew that I wanted to be a successful human being. And for me, success has always been about impact. What impact are you going to create? In your family, in your workplace, in your community, anywhere you are you impactful? Are you leaving a very good mark? Anyone who is touched by what you do, is living with a very positive image of you? That was my definition of success in my early days. Fortunately, I had a very solid foundation. I went to the best university in the country, University of Ife then, studied electrical electronics engineering, and I had the privilege of working on the best accounting firms as well as Anderson in those days. So my starting point gave me a very strong foundation, very good university education, very good workplace, a very ethical environment where merit was the order of the day. So that prepared me for every other thing. So It's really difficult for anyone to plan to be very, very successful. You can plan to be a successful person. You can really do things that are methodical, solid foundation, insatiable appetite for knowledge, keep learning, then things would naturally follow. So for me, it's been a very good journey. I've also been supported by a huge family, very, very supportive family. And I must also say the blessings of God have been a major support for me as well.
Nice.
Thank you so much, sir. I will jump in here. Thank you for honoring our invitation. I like what you said, especially for us younger ones. You said you understand life looking backwards. And I think it's something that everyone should note, because in reality, when you are going through it, you don't really see the outcome. It's when you look back that you realize how, yes, there was providence, and these are the things that make for good success. Now, piggybacking on that, you've worked in various sectors. And one of the things that people struggle with is when they start their careers in one particular sector doing a certain thing, they sort of feel like they are caught in it. And there's that struggle to transition to another sector. Now, what advice would you give professionals that are aspiring to transition across industries just like you did? What were the things that helped you in successfully transitioning, and I dare say hitting the peak of each of those sectors?
I think the core thing is to have a specialty, something you do very, very well. In my own case, I'm an engineer. I'm also a chartered accountant. Those are the two things I know of very, very well. From those two solid background, I was able to venture into other areas. So for you to be a general manager, it means that you know a lot about many things, but it must have your core thing. What is your core? What is that thing you do very, very well that no other person can beat you at? That is your foundation. In my own case, once again, my engineering background was very useful. And when I finished engineering in the university, I wanted to be a businessman. And I knew that to be successful in business, you need a bit about financial expertise, you need a bit about banking. So I chose to work in an accounting firm to learn about accounting, to qualify as a chartered accountant. So those two solid backgrounds really prepared me for my general management career, which followed me eventually. So once again, the short answer, know what you're very good at, be very deep in it, be a specialty in it, but know a bit about every other thing. But that one or two you must know very, very deeply so that you can become an expert in those two areas. On top, just make sure you know a bit about everything in order to be a very successful general manager, if that's what your aspiration is. And by the way, you don't have to be a successful general manager. In my career, I've come across, people who just chose to be a specialist. I remember in one of my workplaces, my boss, who was the finance director, and he said he wanted to remain a finance man. And he said to me, this was about 20 years ago, he said he wouldn't be surprised if at some point I became his boss. And it happened about years after I actually became his boss, because he chose to remain a finance guy. He became a general manager supervising him. But that's like he was happy in his own skin. He didn't have any ambition beyond being a finance guy, very comfortable in his own skin. So just do whatever makes you happy. Don't look at what makes other people happy. That's also one advice I give to young ones. Be very, very comfortable, very clear in your choices, and do things that really make your choices work for you.
All right. Still on this beautiful career that you've had, right? We know that you've got many defining moments. But we know that there will be a particular defining moment in your career, something that really shaped your career and made you who you are, and of course achieved all that you achieved. So can you share with us one of these key defining moments? What really happened? What were the doubts that you had, and how did you turn this around?
It was in 1999, and it was in Accra, Ghana. That's when I became a CEO for the first time. I was only 33 years old, and I became a CEO of Coca-Cola Bottling Company of Ghana. My CEO left. I was CFO at that point, and I knew that the directors were looking for a replacement for my CEO then. For some reason, somebody advised me to throw my hat in the ring, and I did. And I was surprised when I was selected as the CEO of a major business, Coca-Cola Ghana. I was 33 years old. That was a big, big mountain for me to climb, massive mountain. But I got one advice which I will never forget. The guy running Coca-Cola of Africa flew down to Accra to congratulate me. And he gave me a lesson. He said, Segun, from now, stop thinking like a finance guy, think like a business guy. Get a very good CFO to run the finance for you. You focus on taking risks. You focus on growing the business. Stop being the bean counter. Stop being the finance guy. That really unleashed my capabilities. I stopped worrying about the back office. I got somebody to take care of the risk. You still need a risk controller to make sure you don't do bad stuff. But I just focus on growing the business. That was a major defining moment for me when I became a CEO of a large business at only 33 years old. And from that time, the only job I've done is CEO. I never look back. So it's been a major starting point, a good platform. I built on that platform, and it's worked so well for me while the last 37 years, up till June when I finally retired as the only Black CEO of a FTSE 100 company in UK.
Wow, this is so impressive. So impressive, especially hitting CEO at 33. I would say that it speaks to the quality of your work, because it's not normal. It's not everyday thing. Let me not use the word normal. It's not the everyday thing. There must have been some unique things that you brought to the table that you could not have been overlooked. And it's very inspiring to hear. But in this journey, can you highlight some of the most challenging decisions that you have had to take, especially since you have been a CEO for over 30 years? What are the most challenging decisions that you have had to take? Can you share some of them with us?
Let me go back to what you said, that it's not normal. It's not abnormal either, to be honest. And I'm sharing this not because I'm bragging. I really want to challenge the men and women who are on this call. It's actually normal for a 33-year-old man to become a CEO. It is normal for a 33-year-old woman to become a CEO. It's not abnormal. It depends on what you choose to do, how you choose to do it, and how maybe fortune smiles at you at some point. So in my own case, not only did I become CEO at 33 years old, I also became the only Black CEO of FTSE 100 company. Once again, age is not a barrier. Color is not a barrier. I'm trying to just really energize those on this call, that nothing can stop you if you decide to really be what you want to be. So let's park that aside. In terms of challenges in my leadership career, one thing I've focused on is not to do too many things at the same time. I think there is a limit to what anyone can do very well at a particular time. So if you talk to those who work with me, I'm a master of vital few. I just focus on doing very few things at the same time. And I give this example most time when I talk to young leaders. It's like going to the market to buy, let's say, potatoes. On the way, you see somebody selling onions, somebody selling mango, somebody selling cassava, whatever. Anytime you stop by to buy those things, you lose some momentum. You lose your currency. Your currency is finite. So anytime you get distracted by what I call distractions of life, distraction of the workplace, you lose that energy. You lose part of the 24 hours. You must be focused on what you're going to do. Stop buying oranges. Stop buying tomatoes. Focus on what you want, which is onions. When you get to the marketplace, that way you can focus your energy on doing that thing very well. I've seen so many people, managers, entrepreneurs, they get distracted. They lose focus. They spend their currency on irrelevant things. And when the main thing stares at them, they've got no money to spend anymore. So for me, it's always been focused. Focusing on a vital few, not spending time on frivolities, making sure there's clarity in my thought process. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to achieve. And I get the right people who think like me. People don't think like me, to bring some divergence to really chase them in the price that we're looking for. So vital few is what I'm going to recommend to most people. Never do too many things at the same time. Know what is very important. Know what problem you're going to solve. Focus your effort. Solve that problem. You'll be amazed the price you're going to get by focusing on very few things rather than doing too many things, which no one can do very well anyway.
All right. Never do too many things at the same time. I think that's quite insightful. Moving on, we are here, having you share your experience with us, and, for people on the call to also learn from you and be motivated as we also build our career and, of course, aim to be successful as you are. So I think another question I'd like to ask is, there must have been moments where you faced setbacks or failures, where you feel like maybe you couldn't move on, or you got tired, or you just, life just, that moment that maybe you question one or two things about yourself, your capacity, or even your future, or whatever about yourself. Can you share one of those moments with us? And what were the lessons you learned at this tough moment that really shaped your career to be what it is today?
It was a bittersweet event, and I recollect very clearly. And I was in 2009, I believe, when I left my position as the CEO of Coca-Cola Bottling Company of Ghana. I've been CEO for like 9 years. I got tired. I wanted to do something different. So I decided to join a bank. I'm not going to mention the name of the bank. And when I joined the bank as one of the many number twos, a lot of bureaucracy. I learned a very massive lesson. If you are used to be number one, if you go to a place you become number two, with that clearly defined decision-making powers, it become very difficult for you to have impact. That was one place where I felt I had a minimal impact because there was no clarity as to what number twos can do, what number twos cannot do. You relied on so many of your colleagues, so many things depending on the number one. So it actually became slightly difficult for me to work in such an environment, most when I've been making decisions for 9 years. And I went to this place where I was one of the many number twos. The clear lesson for me is be careful when you want to change career, and also be very clear about what you're getting into and now decisions are being made. That was a low point for me. I stayed in that particular place for about 1.5 years, but it was also like a platform for me to do bigger stuff, honestly. Initially, it was really not a good experience for me, but about 2 years later, it became a defining point that actually enabled me to be able to do other stuff. So once again, bittersweet. I didn't like it because I was one of too many people reporting to one guy, and I didn't have clarity as to what I couldn't do. But 2 years after, that same platform became useful for me when I started doing other things. We later went into mobile money business, financial services. My experience as a lead in that particular case came very, very useful. And the size of the balance sheet I was managing then too, although as a number two, was also very, very useful in opening more doors for me eventually. So there's nothing that is absolutely bad, nothing absolutely good. So it depends on how you really look at any event. The event shaped me, some drawbacks, but ultimately it also opened a number of new doors for me.
Yes, and it buttresses your initial statement that you understand life looking backwards. And I dare say that on top of that is also to take things in stride when it doesn't look like it is going the way you want it to. That's a very good one, and I think it's very understandable. But reflecting on your career, would you say that there are some decisions that you would have taken differently? And can you just tell us one of those things where in which respect I will do this particular thing differently?
When you're recruiting, right?
Yeah.
You need to look for those who have hunger in them. I made a couple of mistakes when I put a lot of premium on experience versus being hungry. Going forward, and I realized that actually being hungry trumps experience most time. If you're not hungry, if you're very experienced and you are satisfied with what you've done in life, the lack of hunger will make it difficult for you to achieve. And I made a number of recruitment whereby I relied so much on experienced people wanted to come with experience. But I corrected that very quickly, but that never left me. That sometimes when you're interviewing people for key positions, don't rely solely on experience. Look for hunger, look for those who want to create impact, not those who've created impact in the past, and they just want to really cruise along and just, collect salaries and not just desperate for creating an impact. I'm a big fan of creating impact in whatever you do. I'm not saying that experience means that you're not going to be impactful. It's just like there's a greater propensity for those who are hungry to create impact than those who are experienced, who probably done like 25, 30 years before, and now they want to just coast to retirement and they're not really hungry for anything. That was one thing I learned years ago about looking for talents and making sure that I get the right people to be in the bus with me. A few other things, but let me stop on that and maybe we deal with other issues. Yes.
All right. So you've transitioned, you've worked in several sectors and also several markets across Africa, right? You've worked in banking, you've worked in beverage sector, you've worked in telecommunication sector. So, with your experience spanning these multiple sectors, how did you stay ahead of technological and market changes? Especially looking at your last sector, the telecommunication sector, is quite a sector that keeps evolving. So, how did you stay ahead of all of these technological and market changes? Looking at what you did in Airtel, a loss-making company that you turned around, did a lot of things. How did you stay ahead of these market changes and technological changes as well?
I think the key thing is to have insatiable test for knowledge. I like learning, honestly, and I learn from everyone. I learn from my driver, I learn from my maid, I learn from those who work with me, those who I report to from my board. I've got this thing that anywhere I am, I like to know a lot about what I'm dealing with. If I want to buy a TV, for instance, I'm going to research the TV, know the various brands of the TV, the various peculiarities. That's just me. If you're willing to learn, there's nothing beyond you. I've also been lucky to the fact that I am a general manager. I'm the CEO. When you're CEO, you have the luxury of picking the best guys to work for you, the best women to work for you. That is something I do very, very well. Any position I'm in, I find the best people around to really support me. It's like an orchestra. I'm the conductor. If you're the conductor, you get the best musicians to work with you. And if the tunes are played in harmony, you're going to succeed. If you're the conductor, you're afraid of getting the best musician to come and work with you, your music will turn out horrible. So in every role I've played, whether in Coca-Cola, where I was managing director in 3 different countries, Airtel MD in Nigeria, global CEO for them in Dubai, I just rely on getting good guys, define the objective, make sure everybody is singing in harmony. And I also don't hesitate to get those who are not performing out of the box. Otherwise, it's going to be as strong as the weakest link in the chain. So as I look for good people, I also exit them into some. In a very main version, I define myself as being soft on people, hard on performance. I don't compromise performance. It doesn't mean you're going to be inhuman. It doesn't going to be mean. That's why I say the two go together. You have to be soft on people. When they have personal issues, empathize with them. There are tragedies, empathize with them. But don't ever compromise performance. That is what takes money to the bank. And that's my philosophy about creating a good team and effective team.
Fantastic. So I know that you've worked with various companies, various multinational companies, and of course you had a successful career in Airtel, and now you are the chairman of the Nigerian Sovereign Wealth Fund. So your career is stellar. But what would you say are the major challenges that Africans in multinational companies tend to face? What is that common thread of mistakes that they probably make that results in major challenges for them? And what advice would you give Africans or Nigerians working abroad or in multinational companies?
The key one is that it doesn't matter your accent, your color. Multinationals just look at performance, what you produce. And I see a lot of people make the mistake of equating effort with outcomes. At a certain level, efforts are not highly rewarded, outcomes are rewarded. So never confuse what is being rewarded anywhere you work. If you're not working for Red Cross or Red Crescent, the only thing that is rewarded is the outcomes you produce. Outcomes are profits, customer, cash flow, whatever the manner they define the outcome, be very clear. But when I see young men complain about working hard and producing results, they're not really the same thing, by the way. Because you can work smartly, produce results. You can work so hard and not produce results. But at the end of the day, if you don't work for charity, what is rewarded is actually the outcomes you produce. So for men and women who want to thrive in multinational environment, in profit-making environment, never lose sight of what is rewarded. What is rewarded is the outcomes, the results you put on the table. That is one. My second advice to those who want to be successful is about...
Thank you very much. Quite insightful. So let's move a bit from career and go to... Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I think technical issues. Sorry for that, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Please go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, technical issues.
Yes, I was also going to talk about how you go ahead, how you get promoted. People also think they get promoted by doing... You get your salary for doing your job. You get promoted by doing more beyond your job definition. If you really want to move ahead very quickly, please do beyond what is expected of you. The equation is like, come to work, do what I ask you to do, get your salary, go. But if you really want to be promoted very rapidly, do a lot more beyond what you have been asked to do. That helped me in all of my careers. I did beyond what I've been asked to do. People do notice when you do beyond that, by the way. They may not talk about it, but they notice when you constantly doing beyond what you've been asked to do. When I say budget expectation for you, if you deliver way beyond the budget, people notice. Definitely multinationals notice. So be very clear that, I mean, if you really want to get ahead, do a lot more than what you've been asked to do, then the companies will notice. Also have a set of values. Multinationals are very strong on ethics, and I think any company should be strong on ethics anyway. Ethics, integrity is very, very important. You don't cut corners. I mentioned that efforts are not rewarded, but values are rewarded. Values are very, very key. Have the right values, code of business conduct. If you do all those things very well, do beyond what you're being asked to do. Don't go for basic tenets of running a business. You'll be amazed, how quickly you're going to go ahead. Because people do notice, when you do a lot more beyond what you've been asked to do.
David, you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now? Apologies.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much. I think let's move from career to leadership, right? You've led in different markets and different culture. You worked in Kenya, worked in Ghana, worked in Nigeria. So what were the challenges that, I know you've talked a bit about them, but with this different culture, how were you able to navigate leading teams and people of different culture? What were the challenges that you had, and also how did you excel?
And that's the very definition of leadership, by the way. Leadership solves problems. If you're not solving problems, you're not a leader. Leadership is never a position. People confuse the title on your card as your leadership entitlement. No. Leaders solve problems. Talking about problems that come with running multinational organizations, you have to deal with the culture. The culture in East Africa is different from the culture in Nigeria, different from the culture in Ghana, for instance. When I look at different people, Nigerians will slightly more aggressive than most Africans, rightly so. We're very many, so you need to be aggressive in order to be successful. In East Africa, they're not very, very aggressive. They still deliver results. So aggression is really not the same thing as being successful, to be honest. It's just the way you deliver the results. And in some countries in West Africa, they're not as aggressive as we are. So that's one thing you need to deal with. The second is regulatory issues. Regulations are quite different. When regulations differ, you must apply the right ways of delivering on your business objectives. And finally, in terms of work ethics, they are so very different. As a leader, you must recognize those various differences and find a way to take the best in each one to really deliver on your objective. You can't wear the same cap in every country. When I visit certain countries, I behave differently for many reasons, for regulatory reasons, for cultural reasons. But what is non-negotiable is the focus on outcomes, the focus on results. No matter what you do, no matter you do it, never lose sight of how I'm being rewarded, how the company is being rewarded, how the stock market reward is about results. So despite those differences, one thing binds every one of us together is the focus on delivering results within set values that we all align on.
It's always about delivering results. And I think it's important to highlight because it's very easy to fall into activities, also very easy to fall into emotions. But results is always the thing to focus on. Now, moving on under leadership, it's important for us to know what you think are the things that are necessary to improve leadership development and capacity building in Africa. We asked this question because your career has been stellar. You are currently the chairman of NSIA. You are respected within the NESG space. You are totally respected everywhere. But I'm sure that you can tell that there is a dearth in leadership, right? So from your own perspective, how do you think that we can actually improve on leadership and capacity building in Africa?
The key word is to have the right skills, honestly, because sometimes too we equate deep thinkers with smooth talkers. I've seen so many people that talk very smoothly, but the depth is very shallow. They're not got no depth. So how do we create deep thinkers? People able to think very deeply and solve problems. That is one thing we need to focus on. What are the gaps we have in leadership journey? Do we have folks who are able to have helicopter view and also the ground level view? Because some people, they can do stuff on the ground, they can't think in the sky. So we need to develop those capabilities, because sometimes leaders are not only those who are able to develop strategy, they must be able to also execute on those strategies they've developed. So for me, how do we bring leaders onto the game? Leaders who are able to go to the sky if they need to, come to the ground when needs to, and those who have the right values. These are not things I teach only in schools. They are things you will learn from having mentorship. I'm a big fan of mentorship, because if you learn from those who've done it before, they'll give you practical experience. So you can have an interesting system of mentorship. You can have, internship. Internship also helps. You can also, read a lot about knowledge, read a lot about leadership. There are many schools, but just make sure you don't do things that take away from who you are. Your core is your core. So find whatever style that is suitable to you, deliver results. But there are so many universal rights, universal things that you can't compromise. One is about being ethical, integrity, doing what you promise to do, having a spirit of what I call the constructive discontent, meaning that you're not happy with whatever you've done. I'm not talking about being greedy, but be constructively unhappy with anything you've delivered. That will create an urge you need to keep on delivering better results. Those are the things that I would say are important. Is there a school you go to learn those things? I'm not sure there's a school that can teach all of those things. You learn from those who've done it. You also figure out your own path to success, because no two paths are the same. But you can see what others have done and how it's helped them. Use that to create your own path to success. I'm not an advocate of creating one narrow path to being successful. There are various paths. You can pick from there, and just fashion your own journey that will suit your own style.
David, you're muted again.
Apologies. I don't know why that keeps happening. Apologies. All right. So let's move to family, right? When we started, you mentioned that you've had a very supportive family and a large family that have supported you through your career. As young people, we also like to know, can you share a little more about your family? How were you able to manage your family? You've worked in different countries at different times. How were you able to navigate this transition with family? I think it's also be good to know.
Let me start from my early family life. I'm the only surviving son in a family of 5. I have all my siblings are women, so they really took very good care of me. And they made me believe there's nothing impossible, honestly. Because they were sure we can do it. Because I'm the only guy among like 4 of them, so they just really made me believe that I could do no wrong. So that really created that confidence in me early in my career that I could take on anything. I was never afraid of anything. That created that solid foundation for me. When I got married in 1994, I believe, 30 years ago, my wife too, very supportive, good Christian. She stopped working to take care of the family. One thing that we did, all my traveling, anytime I got transferred from one place to another, my family went with me. My wife, my 2 kids, we went together, which was why my wife stopped working. So that unity of family, we maintain that throughout. It's not easy. I don't want to make it appear easy, but I just created time consciously for the family. Something you have to do consciously. It doesn't happen by chance. You must plan for it. For instance, some evenings I work with my wife. In the early years when I had the time, we took 2 family holidays, one with my wife, one with my family, the 4 of us. There are things you just have to selectively do to create that time for the family. If you don't create the time, it's not going to happen. I don't think any career is worth losing your family, honestly. You must find that sweet spot where you create time to do what works for your family and create a part to also the financial stability you need to create, sustainability in your family. For me, it worked very well together. found time to take care of the family. I attended most of school events for my children, by the way. I was there when my 2 kids were born. I mean, I'm a present father. My wife, of course, because she stopped working, she was present. But I really consciously created opportunity for family activities, for family events. I knew China, I went back home, I had a supportive family to share problems with, to discuss issues, and to really lean on, because there are going to be difficult times. There are going to be things you can't share with your colleagues in the office. If you've got a very good family, it's easier for you to not deal with them. But if they're not there, when you need them, they're not going to be there for you as well. No money can replace being available. No matter how rich you are, if you're not available, they are not going to be available for you when you need them as well. So I really, really strongly suggest to young men and women to find that sweet spot, that balance where they can create a successful career, whether as an entrepreneur or as a CEO, as a leader in business. At the same time, take care of the families. It's very important to have a balanced life. And for those who also believe in spirituality, make sure you create balance for the three: your career, your family, and your spiritual life. The three of them will weave together and create a very solid and human being.
Thank you so much. One thing that you said that struck me is no career is worth losing your family. You have to consciously create time for family. No amount of money can replace being available. And it's very, very important to find that sweet spot. I dare say it's something that we all need to fight for. It doesn't come without support from anyone. Thank you so much for sharing, sir. On the back of this, data actually shows that women tend to drop off the career ladder as life transitions happen. And I dare say that maybe Nigeria or the world 20 years ago might have been different and better and easier. But it's harder in this time and age for couples, for a man to be the only one working, for young people right now. So it's really tough, right? But what would you say you have observed as a common thread for women who have ended up rising to the top of their careers? And what kind of supports from organizations would you say have yielded the best results in helping women grow?
I must confess, it's tougher for women than it is for men, because they just have to juggle too many balls at the same time. But I've seen many successful women. If you look at the banking environment in Nigeria, you've got many women running banks. It can't be any more tedious running an organization than working in a bank with all the regulations, customer focus. So we do have women who are very successful. And some of them have also managed to keep a successful marriage. So I'm not saying marriage is the only definition of being a successful woman, but I'm saying it's not difficult to really marry so many things together. And what I've seen about them, they are not afraid to take risks. The women that I know have been very successful. They also not afraid to take on men who belittle them, men who challenge them. They're not afraid to take a seat at the table. When they have a seat at the table, they express their views willingly. They just not, there's no fear in them. And they also do what is required. They don't blame any values. They don't blame any culture for them not being at the table earlier. They accept the care and they do things that men do at the table. There's no reverse discrimination. And the price that men pay should be the same price that women would pay to be very successful. But I think corporates, men should go the extra step in creating more opportunities for women, honestly, because they've been left behind for a very long time, especially in African societies. Now we have a lot of gender balance strategies that companies adopt. We need to double down on those ones and make it easier for women to get to the table. I've seen once they get to the table, they deliver the results. There's nothing that suggests men are more prone to delivering better results than I won't think the reverse happens in some cases, by the way. So the fact is, like, what do we do to get a lot more women to the table? That's what men have to work on. That's what women have to work on. And that's what the society, corporates have to work on. And let me give you a practical example, because I mean, when I was running my last company, my bonus depended on how many women I was able to put in leadership position. And for a long time, I was looking for a managing director for one of the countries. And I really wanted a woman. And I actually waited for close to 6 months until I found the woman, not just the woman, the right woman, by the way. There's a difference between tokenship and just finding the right person. So I waited for 6 months, found the right woman, put the woman in managing director position, and I'm very happy that I did that months ago. So it's got to be a conscious effort by everybody to raise women up, because they've been disadvantaged for so long. As we're raising them up, we should also make sure we don't compromise on quality. There are quality women in Nigeria, in Africa. We need to find them, we need to support them, we need to make it easier for them to deliver results.
Thank you so much for that, sir. Before we go on to the next question, I just want to let our audience know that we are currently taking questions for the Q&A session, which will start in about 10 minutes. So please drop your questions in the chat room and we'll be sure to pick them. David, over to you.
All right, thanks, Ola. I think I just want to take you back again. You talked about family, and you also mentioned that no one should sacrifice a career should sacrifice their family for career. So, and I know a lot of professionals struggle with balancing work or career requirements with also family. And there's some school of thought that really, if you want to succeed in your career, maybe your family would suffer a little bit. You rose to the top of your career, to the pinnacle of your career. How were you able to manage this work-life balance, especially when you had conflicting demands? You know, your work or your career is requesting for something very urgent from you, and you also have your family at the same time needing you. How were you able to navigate all of these complexities?
Like I said earlier, David, it's a conscious thing you do. You create time for what is important for you. You can always find a reason for not doing what you don't want to do in life, by the way. That's the way we're wired. If you don't want to do something, you find an excuse for not doing it. If you want to do something, you find a reason for doing it. So it's got to be a conscious thing. I give examples like it's about juggling 3 different balls. One ball, I call it ball of family. Second one, work. Third, spirituality for those who believe in God. Those are 3 balls of life. The ball of family is made of glass. If it falls, it breaks. It can't bounce back. The ball of work or career, you can find another job, better job. Your spirituality as well depends. I don't want to go into that as well. Let's just limit ourselves to those 2 balls that we all agreed upon, the ball of family and the ball of career. The one that is made of plastic can always bounce back. That is the ball of career. But the ball that is made of family, difficult when it breaks. You don't want to break it. It's got to be something, just like you invest time in your career, you must invest time in your family as well. Because everybody's got 24 hours in a day. You choose what to do with those 24 hours. And I don't think anyone spend 24 hours working every day anyway. So just find that right balance. How many hours do you want to dedicate to your family? If you consider family important, but for some, family is actually not important anyway. So don't let's force our values on other people. For those who consider family important, I'm sure they find time for the family. For those who reckon that having money, having career, achieving is a lot more important, they won't find. I've seen so many successful CEOs who, when they ask to look back, one major theme is like they wish to spend a lot more time with their family. You can check the record. That's been a major regret, that I wish I spent more time with my children, with my wife, with my son, with my daughter. I don't want the men and women on this call 20 years down the line to have that kind of regrets. And you need to consciously plan for that now by having this balanced approach to life. That I mean, life is not so much about career, it's not only about money, it's about just living. And living means having a family, living means having a successful career, living means having whatever is important to you. And that has to be done consciously. It doesn't happen by chance. You don't leave it to chance. Just like you don't leave getting a job to chance. You apply for a job, you go for the interview, you prepare for the interview, you are successful. That's how you plan your family as well. It must be something you plan for. If you don't plan for, it's not going to be dumped on your lap. It won't happen.
Thank you so much for that, sir. I like what you said. You always find excuses for not doing what you don't want to do in life. And it's very true. But one question, and we're moving on to legacy. What advice would you give young African professionals seeking leadership roles in any jurisdiction? And on the back of that, what is the place of time in assuming leadership? You've said, okay, you became CEO at 33, and then you also understand life looking backwards. But a lot of people are in a hurry. There's this general thing where everybody is trying to achieve everything at once, somehow or the other. So what advice would you give? And then what is the place of time, just giving things time in assuming leadership positions?
Let me take the second one. In terms of timing, I don't think there's a defined time for anyone to become a leader. And leadership doesn't mean you become CEO, by the way. There are various levels of leadership. You can be a leader in your department. You can be a leader in any sphere of life. And I think leadership, once again, it's not that title on your card. It's about how people perceive your impact on them. So I really don't want us to really equate leadership with being CEO or managing director. Of course, it's a big title on your card. It doesn't define who a leader is. I've seen those who carry those titles, they are not recognized as leaders because they don't demonstrate leadership capabilities. So once again, you can be a leader in whatever area by impacting people's life, by creating opportunities for other people to thrive, by making sure you solve problems for them, by making sure that you create the right environment for them to thrive. That's what I define as leadership. My own case, I became a leader at such a, some even became leaders at 30. Anyway, so it's not really, I know of somebody who became MD of a bank at 28 or 29. So age is really not a barrier to being a leader again. It depends on the opportunities. It depends on how prepared you are. And if you're very prepared, opportunities open, just grab it and don't be shy. I've also seen people who hesitate when they offer the platform saying they're not ready. You can always learn. So don't shy away when you offer the opportunity to lead. Whether you lead a small group, you lead a large group, you lead a small department, you lead a large department, a multinational, whatever it is, just assume that leadership position. And don't confuse that with a title. Make sure you solve problems. When you solve problems, your leadership journey will be quicker because anytime there's a bigger problem to be solved somewhere, people will look for you. Oh, this gentleman, Ola knows how to solve problems. David is a good problem solver. We have a problem in this division. Let's take David there to solve the problem. Oh, this country is not doing well. Let's transfer Ola to this country to rescue. That's how leadership strive. That is how you get promoted, by being very visible, by people knowing you're a problem solver, and by people knowing you value ethics, people knowing that you do things the right way. Then, you're good to go. But once again, leadership can be in any sphere of life. You don't have to carry that title of CEO to be recognized as a leader.
All right. Thank you very much. So, Dr. Ogunsanya, what advice would you give your younger self? Looking back, we talk about looking at life in retrospect. So what advice would you give your younger self about navigating the complexities of leadership, success in the corporate world or in the multinational world? What advice would you give your younger self?
Two things. One is I should have invested more time in learning a number of languages. I speak only English. French is very useful for those who want to be more leaders in multi-country. Very key. French, Spanish, at least one other language. That's one thing I would have done differently. I would have invested more time in learning French. I did not. The second thing I would have done is to probably invest more effort in networking. Networking is very, very important. I did a bit of that. I could have done a lot more if I consciously invested time in networking. So looking back again, that's how you live life. Those are the two things I missed, that I didn't invest in learning a second language. And the fact that I didn't probably invest a lot in networking. I met various leaders, met a number of African presidents. I've met a number of prime ministers. But beyond those meetings, I didn't really invest in nurturing that relationship that could enable me to pick the phone and call them beyond just discussing my day business with them. Networks are very useful beyond your career, but I didn't probably invest a lot more effort in nurturing those relationships between just me visiting the president and just shaking hands and discussing about the business. My advice to the young ones like me, don't limit yourself when you encounter people who can actually influence things for you. Just move beyond your immediate small area and find ways of nurturing that relationship by also bringing something to the table. That's how networking works. It's not only one-way direction, it must be two-way direction. They get something from you, you give them something. That's how it becomes sustainable. That I didn't do a lot of in my early career.
Thank you so much. And that's very, very instructive, because I know a lot of people that are guilty of that. You just take the pictures, I've met this person, and you move on. But the value in that picture is in taking it further. And it's something that we all should think about more and more, and actually take action, actually. And our final question for this segment, we're right on time, is you currently retired from Airtel, and you are now the chairman of the NSIA. But the general image that we have, like African culture, Nigerian culture, is that at retirement, parents go to the village, things like that. But I see that these things are changing, but it's important to be, intentional about that transition. So I want you to share what is what do you see for your next chapter? We already see it unfolding with the appointments and the chairman positions on boards, but what do you see for your next chapter? And then how did you position yourself while working for these things to naturally occur for you?
I think after doing private sector work for like 37 years, being offered the role of chairman of Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority is something I'm very proud of. It's in a public space. Is actually a very huge responsibility. But it's not about us, it's not about me, it's about the future generation of this country. How do we create wealth, or how do we make it easier for them to thrive? That is what the Sovereign Fund does. We're meant to save money for your children, your children's children, my children's children. That's what it's all about. So focus on creating this path for them so that when we all go, they look back and say, no, the fund is created a part of prosperity for us. We don't have to spend all the money. We're not making a lot of it now anyway, but we don't have to spend all the money now. So that I'm very proud of, migrating from the pure private sector focus to now doing something in public space, creating wealth, creating value for future generation. The third part, or the new part of my life, is my foundation work. I'm the chair of Airtel Africa Foundation, and this foundation does 4 things. We support digital coverage, we support financial inclusion, especially for women. We support education for all, and we support environmental stewardship. This is not about money for exposure. I don't have any KPI that talks about profit or revenue. It's just about doing great stuff for the communities where we operate. This I'm very, very proud of. Beyond this, again, I'm working in my local community, trying to bring development to where I come from. Those are things that actually make me happy, that after being very successful in creating wealth, creating value for different stakeholders, now I'm supporting my country, I'm supporting my community, and I'm supporting 14 countries in Africa by supporting education, financial inclusion, digital coverage, and making sure the climate, the environment is safe for future generations. It's a new feeling entirely, and it's a feeling of joy, it's a feeling of happiness that you're creating a lot more value. It goes beyond making money. It's actually doing something for people, and I must say I'm in a very good space.
All right.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Over to you, David.
All right. Thank you very much. I think we've had a very wonderful engagement with you this afternoon, morning. We'll now move on to the questions that we have on the chat. And I think we kind of have a lot of questions on the chat. Some of the questions have been answered in our engagement with you. And I think I would just like to start with the question from Funsho. Funsho is asking about your board experience, right? And the question is, please describe your board selection preferences and criteria. How have you leveraged on the board experience and network? And I think about your role in NSIA. What should we expect different from NSIA as regards to impact on the economy? I don't know if you can handle that, but I think more importantly on your board selection preferences and criteria. Thank you.
On board selection, I look at 3 core areas. One is on gender diversity. I want to be sure I have men and women. I look at ethnic diversity, people from different countries. And I look at experience diversity, people having different experiences, either marketing experience, accounting experience, engineering experience. Those are the 3 clear things. I look at gender, ethnic, and experience diversity. Those are very important. Other things can come in, but those are the forefront when I make a board selection. And it can my board when I was running Airtel Africa is a testimony to those three values. We have ethnic diversity, we've got gender diversity, we've got experience diversity. We also have age diversity as well. So that we don't have many young people, we don't have many old people, we just have people across the different ages. That brings a lot of diversity in terms of ideas, in terms of discussion, in terms of values. So those four factors are very important in having a very efficient board: age diversity, gender diversity, ethnic diversity, and experience diversity. They're talking about NSIA, yes. The NSIA is set up by an act of parliament, and the functions are very straightforward. We meant to create value for future generations. The investment horizon is about 20 years. We don't do things for tomorrow or for next year or for 2 years, and it's meant to be long-term, create impact, social impact, at the same time making sure that those investments are very profitable. I don't want to use this forum to talk about NSIA, but probably that's what it's meant for. We're meant to create value for the future generation, at the same time make sure we don't lose your money that we're keeping on your behalf.
Thank you, sir. So the next question will be from Idongesit. And the question is this: life in recent times has not been very easy for many young Nigerians. Getting opportunities to even showcase what you possess has also been scarce and challenging. During your days, there were opportunities looking for people to fill in, but we cannot boast of that today. What advice would you give to young aspiring Nigerians on how to break into the space in Nigeria or outside of Nigeria, notwithstanding the current situation?
Just last week, another unicorn was born in Nigeria, by the way, Money Point, I believe. So it depends on the lenses that you use to look at stuff, to be honest. If what you see is a problem, difficulty, other people may see things differently, opportunities are available. So I would just suggest you change your lenses and look at things more differently. Out of those challenges to identify, what can you do differently to really solve those problems? Is a business opportunity as well. So, my view, and I meet people who keep on bringing ideas, they want to discuss with me. I also meet people who keep complaining about the environment. So there are various lenses. I know things are tough. I don't want to minimize the current environment, but I'm just out of these challenges. We had a unicorn last week. Out of these challenges, we see young men and women who come in forth with different ideas to solve some of our problems. So you just have to look deeply. And I don't agree that it was easier 20 years ago. That's what every generation thinks. It's always not been easy for anyone to really succeed, honestly. You need to just figure out what you need to do differently to create value for your business. So times are tough, but please, look for where the opportunities are. Out of tough environment, people create value.
All right. So the next question. Yes, thank you very much, sir.
Whether I've worked with a mentor or yes. When I was made the group CEO of Airtel Africa, the board assigned a mentor to me. I did that for a month and I stopped because I just felt the cultures are very different, the values are very different, and my way of working very different from what my mentor was coaching me. So I stopped and relied on my own life experience to shape my tenure when I was group CEO of Airtel Africa. I stopped seeing the mentor. Because our values are quite different.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Ola. You want to move to Okay.
Okay, so go ahead.
All right. So the next question is from Laide. Laide said, you've spoken about performance and results. How do you compare this to some companies that dwell more on soft issues for promotion?
But if you're in a business where promotions are based on soft issues, I'm not sure that's the right. I don't thrive in places where promotions are not based on what you produce. And I think most private sector companies, they do promote you when you produce results. Of course, some recognize effort, and I'm not understating the value of effort. At these very low levels, efforts are actually rewarded, but at the very senior levels, what is rewarded again is the outcome that you produce. They give you an objective, transform this business, produce X number of customers, get EBITDA margin of 50%. Those are the things that are going to be rewarded. Not that, no, you've come to work today, you spent 8 hours at work today, or you spend 2 hours in traffic on third mainland bridge. Those are not very important. So if you work in a company where soft issues are rewarded, maybe it's on the verge of becoming an NGO, I'm not sure, but the companies that do very well, they're the ones who reward the outcomes.
Fantastic. David, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. I think the next question is from Kemi, and this question is very important for a lot of young people, and is on mental health. So the question is, for such an accomplished man, how did you protect and enhance your mental health?
I spend time exercising, to be honest. I swim and I walk at least, 5 times a week if I'm not traveling. If I'm traveling, slightly more difficult, but whenever I'm not traveling, I actually do swim and I walk. I watch a lot of TV as well. I just watch President Trump win another mandate from the last election, whether positive or negative, but it's one. I watch a lot of TVs as well just to distress myself. So once again, just do whatever takes the stress out of your life. Some dance, some do whatever you want to, just do it. Whatever makes you happy, takes the stress out of your life, just do it. And do it consistently to just make sure you're consistently distressed.
Yes, you have to be intentional about owning what works for you and be consistent about it. The next question we'll take will be from Ngwana from Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. And she wants to know how you knew when to move on from one role or sector to another, and whether you pre-planned those moves. Also, I think you've talked about the mentor situation. Did you have mentors you looked up to in challenging situations?
In terms of knowing when to leave, and that's one thing I also say to people very often, everyone has got a best by date. Don't stay in a place beyond your best by date. There's a date when you expire. And my own advice to young men and women is to recognize way before that date and leave so that you are celebrated. If you wait until you get to your expired date, you're going to be humiliated, you're not going to be celebrated. Whether you are a young leader, mature leader, whether you work in a department, whether you work in a company, there's that mental date that people start wondering whether you're still relevant. Don't get close to that time before you leave and go and create impact somewhere else. So there's always a time for a leader to don't wait until the food is finished before you leave the table. If you go to a party, don't wait until they stop serving champagne before you leave. Leave when they say putting champagne on the table. That's my advice to people. But if you wait until the drinks are finished, the food is finished, you're going to clear the table. You don't want to be the one clearing the table if you're not the one organizing the party. Recognize the best time to leave and leave when innovation is class so that you're celebrated as you did. But never leave a mess behind as well. Don't leave because you've created a mess. Leave when there's no mess. When you've created value, when you celebrated, you'll be remembered for a very long time.
All right, thank you. The next question is from Uchechi, and she asked, you mentioned the advice someone gave you when you became the CEO of Coca-Cola Ghana. Please, can you throw more light on this? What did you do to focus more on the business, seeing that your career was in finance? What are the key skills and qualities a mid-level career person who wants to lead a company should build?
Okay. When I was transferred to Ghana as the CFO, my role was primarily to make sure the finances are kept in shape, accounts are produced on time, and procurement was in top shape. But I went a lot beyond this. Even before my MD left then, if I didn't sign on anything, whether it was marketing, operational, he would never approve. So I become the de facto number 2, way beyond what the finance CFO should do. That's what I mean by doing way beyond what the being paid should do. I did that, and I think the citizen recognized the fact that I was doing a lot more than I was being paid to do, which was why it was easier for me to become the CEO after my CEO left. So it's very, very important to really do beyond that. The advice that the gentleman running Africa gave me is this, knowing that I come from a finance background, finance people are very risk averse. They calculate the risk, and sometimes the ones who not move from being typical finance, they are hostage to risk. They just keep on thinking what can go wrong, what can go wrong, don't worry about it. Or they don't think about what can go right. The default for some, not all, for some finances, like, let me make sure I mitigate the risk. What do I need to do? So you lose some big picture, you lose some opportunity if you're constantly focusing on the risk. I'm not suggesting for a minute you shouldn't let somebody worry about it. I'm saying that let somebody else worry about that risk. You think big, you think large, and let somebody keep on pinching you that, oh man, these are the things you need to worry about. Have you thought about what you need to do to make sure these things don't happen? That should be done by somebody so that you can unleash your own ambition to really thinking big. That way you can create value with somebody behind you, pushing you back if you're testing the limits. That's what I mean by being a businessman and not being counter, by not focusing on risk alone. There's nothing wrong in having somebody to do that for you, but as a leader, you must think big, huge ambition. If you dream small, you're going to achieve something small. If you dream really big, a small part of a big dream should be a big thing anyway. So that's what I actually learned from what my former boss in Africa taught me when I became CEO in 1999, that stop being the CFO, start being a business leader.
Thank you, sir. I'll take two questions together. Fasinu said, is asking, as a leader, how do you manage psychophancy in the workplace and recognize genuine contribution from staff members who may be more introverted? That's a very, very valid question. And then on the second question I'll also take is from Shade, who is asking if you have ever worked with an executive coach in your career.
In terms of psychophancy, I don't encourage people gossiping or people coming to tell me stories. I would typically meet once in a week with my ESCO on a Tuesday, and we discuss everything in that table. You can't come back to me after to share stories with me. You must put your issues on the table. In that 3-4-hour meeting I have every week, all of the places we have been MD, every Tuesday from 10 to like whenever, 10 to 2 every day, every week, we do have the weekly ESCO meeting. That's the only forum where we discuss everything. So if people know you are very transparent, you don't listen to gossip, there's no corridor talk, the only talk is in the boardroom where every issue is put on the table, they're going to stop coming to you with various stories. And I remember very, very early in my career, long time ago, when one of my departmental heads came to share tales about another one with me. 10 minutes later, I called both of them and I explained what the other guy said about him to him. This is what X said about you. Is it true? He was shocked because X happened to be his best friend. By the way, I knew they were best friends. So that was how I stopped people coming to gossip. Because if you don't discourage that, you're going to have information that you can't use or you don't know how to place it. But by making it easier, that I mean, anything you want to discuss, put it on the table in a forum where everyone is there. That creates a very safe environment for everyone to discuss issues openly with no hidden agenda. It's very important for there to be no hidden agenda. That I was able to do by creating a very open and safe environment for people. You can be wrong, but at least say it in front of everyone and let whoever you're talking about challenge your own thought process as well.
All right, thank you. I'll take two questions from IAU. And the first question is, in this jet age of social media, AI, and information overload and rapid technological changes, how do you juggle all the balls in the air and still stay on top of the key things that truly matter? And the next question from same IAU is potential versus experience. Which weighs higher for you as a leader?
Can you take the second question again? I didn't get that.
Potential versus experience. Which weighs higher for you as a leader?
Potential versus experience. Sometimes it's all about potential because people have spoken about Nigeria's potential for so long. Potentials alone don't really create value as well. So it must be potentials backed with what the person has done in the past. If you keep talking to him about your potential and there's no history, there's no record of you delivering beyond that potential, I'm going to be very worried as well. So if you ask me to choose between experience, somebody who is really delivers something in his past life, or someone keeps talking about potential, I'll be a bit more careful. For me, I want to be sure you have potentials and you've demonstrated value from that potential in the past. You've done something with that potential. You don't keep on saying you're able to do this, you're able to do that. Tell me what you've done. I can value your potential if I know what you've done. But if all you have is said, oh, I'm able to create, a plane, I'm able to create something, new rocket engine, and I've not seen whether you've created big parts in the past, I'm not going to place a lot of value on that potential. So potential is important, but must be backed up by what you've done in the past so that people can believe in that future potential. In terms of information, overload, I'm very selective in what I listen to be honest. And you can have what I call the paralysis by having too many data. It happens to leaders. And you don't need so many data points to actually make an informed decision. I've seen also leaders again who have tons and tons of files they read. That's why they don't have enough time for that stuff, because they read tons and tons of files. They will walk through many documents. As a leader, you must have few data points that will suggest the opportunity, that will indicate problem areas. Once you're able to trigger those few data points, focus on them. Let somebody summarize the tons of data for you so that you can extract what is actually key for making decision. I'm not a big advocate of too much data. Luckily, AI can actually extract what is relevant for you now going forward. You don't have to go through tons and tons of information. Give the right command, it will extract what is relevant. You can now determine whether you want to go deeper or whether what is being extracted is good enough for you to make a decision that you focus on. But don't become restricted to too much information. It makes it difficult for you to take decision. You become paralyzed by so much data points. Some can even be conflicting, which creates another paralysis for you in order to make decision.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Adekunle, and his question is this. You mentioned that recruiters should look out for zeal and experience. In your journey as a leader, have you created internship opportunities or openings for interested applicants just for experience sake? And has anyone secured a seat and proven themselves with any of the businesses you've led in the past through these opportunities? So I think he's just trying to ask how if those opportunities have been created, and what success stories have you gotten out of the opportunities that have been created for people just for experience?
In my former place, when I was running Airtel in Nigeria, we do have a very deep relationship with Lagos Business School. They second students to us, and they spend 2 years on Young Leaders Program. For those who've done very well, we do retain them. And for those who've not done as well as we expected, we let them go. But they've learned something from us. So that is one thing that we do very well. Even now, we do also move some of our colleagues from one country to another country to learn differently. When they come back to their home country, they assume senior position. So I'm a big fan. I don't just say we also do what we practice. So we do have very deep internship programs, in the places we have worked.
David, you're muted.
Yes, thank you. I think the next question is very interesting, and it's from Shadi. And the question is, there's a lot to learn from you. You have so much to share. Do you plan to document your experience in a book someday?
I retired only 2 months ago. This is actually my 4th month. I retired end of June, so I'm still enjoying this relatively easy period. Maybe at some point I will put my thoughts together, but for now I just want to have some rest period, do what I want to do, not what I have to do, put my legs on the table, wake up when I want to wake up, sleep when I want to sleep. That's what I want to do for the next couple of months. Then maybe another 1 year, I may choose to really put my thoughts together. But I do talk to people. I do advise a number of young folks, and I do advise companies as well, giving benefit of my experience. That's what I do now, my own time.
That's the way life should be, my own time. And I'm going to take 2 questions because we are almost rounding up. I think we've done quite well in terms of time and in terms of the amount of answers and learnings we have been able to gain from you in this short period. So Uche is asking, you made a very good point in saying that family should not be sacrificed at the altar of career growth. Most women who take breaks from work because of the unique challenges they face at home find it difficult to return to the workspace because of the gap of experience in the experience area in the CVs. What is your advice for these women? Does your organization have a place for these women? Well, disclaimer, he has retired. Most have a lot to offer, just that life happened at the early stage of their career. And I'll also add this question. So Uche's question is, what advice would you give to women trying to re-enter back into the workspace after a gap? And then for Bukola, she's saying she recently began her career in finance after studying on the subject, and she's eager to learn and grow in this field. However, she finds it challenging to find a mentor. Could you give an advice on how she can get a mentor?
In terms of women taking gaps, I would recommend they still stay relevant during the gap period. They learn something. We can work from home. Completely cutting yourself off work for 2 years, I don't advise that as well. I know time is required to take care of the baby, but in between, you can still make yourself relevant by working from home, learning something new. People want value, honestly. Any company take you back if they realize you invested money in yourself while you are working from home. You got something new to give. It's not philanthropy. It's not something that they offer. It's just like you're able to give something, able to pay for it. If you have something that companies are able to pay for, they willingly pay for. If you've got nothing that they're willing to pay for, then there won't be any exchange. So for me, it's about just continuously developing yourself, whether you're working from home because you are taking care of a baby, or you choose to just take some time off to take care of the family. Just keep on investing time in developing yourself. That will still remain relevant. If you don't do that, you're not going to be relevant to the workplace if you're out of touch for 2 years. Whether it's a man or a woman, by the way, doesn't matter. In terms of mentorship, I would suggest that you find somebody who is also clearly invested in you. Because mentorship is not only one way, it's two ways. The person that's going to mentor you must really take a special interest in your career, in your development, or it become a chore. You don't want this to be a chore. So find somebody who is equally invested in your progress because he's seeing the potential in you. Speak to some of my friends who complain about those who come for mentorship, that they're actually looking for a job, they're not looking for mentorship. That's what they suggest. So just make sure that, you're not, looking for the new job, you're just looking for how to upgrade yourself, how to learn from what the person has done, create a session maybe once every month, whatever is convenient for you and the person is going to be your mentor. But just make it, at least slightly more comfortable for both parties. Because sometimes it's not that you give me something in return to the person that is mentoring. It's like the happiness the person derives from seeing you make progress is enough payback for that particular mentor. If there's progress, then it becomes just a one-way download that is not of value to your mentor ultimately. So it's good to really show some progress. Let the mentor be able to understand what the milestones are, how your own progress has been measured. So it gives the person some joy that the time is investing in you is earning some dividend for you as well.
Thank you so much, sir. And to add to that, as a woman who is on our email list, it's important to know that the CFA Society, under the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, we actually have a mentorship program for young women where we pair you with a senior woman in the financial services space. In fact, a senior woman in any space, and then you actually have access to a mentor. And of course, there are guidelines such that you are able to, you're streamlined. You're not looking for a job like what we just mentioned here, but it's a good opportunity. So stay on our email list, look out for those email communications, follow us on our handles, and you'll be sure to be notified. I think we've already done the one for this year, so look out for the next announcement. On the back of this, we would like to say a very big thank you to everyone. I and David, as the moderator for the platform for this session, and then we'll hand over to the society office for the closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ola and David, for a very well done job. And thank you too to our guests for those insightful points that he made during the course of the discussion. I'd also like to say a very big thank you to all the attendants, everyone that came on the call for making it a very, very successful one. On this note, I'd like to say goodbye to everyone until next time we come your way for the next edition of Quarterly Leadership Series.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you very much, sir. Thank you.
We are impact driven. We are CFA Society Nigeria, a member society of the CFA Institute Global Network of Societies. Our mission is to promote the highest standard of practice in the Nigerian financial services industry and provide a vibrant community for our members. The CFA Charter signals the holder's commitment to professional excellence. As thought leaders, we collaborate with stakeholders to ensure adherence to ethical standards, better education for professionals, and to build market integrity. We are the leading voice for advocacy in the finance and investment industry in Nigeria. To partner with us or become our member, visit us at cfasocietyng.org for more details. CFA Society Nigeria, making finance a force for good.
Thank you, everyone, for this session.